This is Square SQ, and this is our number 4. Um, Square was 3 for me, and the only reason it wasn't higher is because I had a bit of a negative list. I try to list out pros and cons for these stocks. That helps me determine my rankings. And for Square, I had a few cons. So first, just kind of going through the numbers. Square, gross profit up 91% year over year. They're now generating over $1 billion of annual gross profit for the first time ever. The Cash App has been absolutely phenomenal for them. 40 million active users of the Cash App. Cash App and monetization. Remember a couple years ago when people thought they weren't going to be able to monetize the Cash App?
Right.
Cash App revenues up 128% annualized for the past 2 years. That's pretty impressive. Square is slightly profitable. They're not prioritizing profitability, not in the way PayPal is at the moment. They're still in pretty much all-out growth mode, but they have had positive net income the past 4 quarters. They're trading at something like 200 times earnings, so don't kind of consider them a very profitable business just yet. Gross payment volume over $42 billion, much less than PayPal. This puts Square at about 1/9 the size of PayPal payment volume-wise. And perhaps most exciting to me, Square recently got its own banking charters. They launched Square Financial Services.
Mm-hmm.
That right now they're just kind of using that to rebrand their Square Capital personal lend or business lending, but it has so many long-term implications for the business. They could launch into personal lending, other specialized banking products that they haven't been able to this point. A while ago, Square then CFO Sarah Friar had said that Square wants to essentially do for consumers anything their bank does. Square's a long way from doing that, so there's still a lot of products and services, I think, in the pipeline. Now let's talk about the things I don't like about Square for a second, and I want to hear Jason's thoughts on these. Number one, I already alluded to this earlier a bit, the Afterpay acquisition. I think paying $29 billion to jump into the buy now, pay later business is a little bit of a reach. They're paying 10 times more than PayPal is for its acquisition. And instead of trying to build anything organically, they're just kind of adding this on. Now, Afterpay adds $700 million or so of revenue to their ecosystem, so I get it. But this just seems like a hefty price to pay to add a financial service that I'm not totally sold on yet. Number two, I have to say that Jack Dorsey's infatuation with Bitcoin is probably my least favorite thing about Square as a stock. And I own shares of Square. Out of Square's $4.7 billion of revenue in the most recent quarter, $2.7 billion of it was Bitcoin. They own Bitcoin on their balance sheet. A lot of their money is coming from Bitcoin right now. Jack Dorsey's really all in on helping develop blockchain, different types of blockchain networks and applications and things like that. Not a big fan of that. And it's a very richly valued company. If you include the stock they're issuing for the Afterpay acquisition, you're approaching $150 billion in market cap right now. Big market cap for the company. I mentioned about 1/9 of the size of PayPal in terms of of the payment volume they're doing. I think the Cash App is the real value and growth engine of the business at this point. But curious to see why Jason ranked it number 5.
Yeah, a few different reasons, right? So I actually ranked MasterCard ahead of it because I think at some point you start thinking about just the risk of these concentrated bets, right? So you talked about the Upstart Pay. I agree. They're buying a brand here as much as anything. With MasterCard, they're buying something that they can just integrate with their platform. And I want to see Square doing the same thing, right? Not buying a brand. And so that concerns me because I do think that is a huge, it could work out. I mean, it really could, but man, that's a huge reach. I think that the banking charter is both a wonderful opportunity to expand and diversify. And it also creates a tremendous risk, right? Because being a bank versus being a payments business are two really different things, right? And the risks that you're managing are very different. And if they're effective with it, and if they have the right people that come in that understand lending and taking on the kinds of risks that are involved, if they choose to use that bank charter for that sort of thing, which eventually I think they will, it could be good. It could also be a great way to destroy a lot a lot of shareholder capital. And that to me, I just think right now the downside risks have probably increased over the past year because of the concentration of Bitcoin trading driving so much of the revenues, because this massive capital, that's now being invested into Afterpay, and because of the risks of the banking charter, because we know Jack Dorsey's not afraid to take a risk, right? It concerns me. That concerns me. I'm a shareholder and I'm not selling. I'm paying a lot more attention than I was a year ago.